Hi friends, it's me back again. Can you believe it's already the month of April? Time has flown. And now it's time to go over everything I read in the month of March. I did pretty good. I had a good reading month, had a good variety, only one DNF. So I'm here to show you and tell you about what I read. The first book that I was really happy to read was Blob, a love story by Maggie Sue. If you want a full review or to know more about this book without any spoilers, not a lot of spoilers, please check out the discussion I did with Dee at the Reading Room. His channel is great, and I had a blast talking about this with him. So in this book, we're following a young woman named Vi who one night finds a blob of gelatinous goo by a dumpster in an alley outside of a nightclub. She starts to feel sorry for this blob, so she brings it home and starts to take care of it as you would a pet. Sooner than later, this blob starts to eat cereal. It starts to develop human qualities and eventually grows into a fully formed human man who is Vi's ideal. He has physical features of different movie stars that she finds attractive. She pinned them up on her wall, and for some reason, Blob took on those characteristics. So yeah, this is a, I don't even know how to describe this book or put it in a genre, but yeah, I don't want to give anything away. It is very interesting. You find out about Vi, about her amazing cast of supporting characters, her family, and Blob, of course, who is a very interesting character in and of himself. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I recommend this to anybody. Go in with an open mind and you won't be sorry. It's a great book. It's a lot of fun. The next book I read after that was something a little more serious. I picked up this futuristic dystopian novel called The Future by Catherine Leroux, translated by Susan Oriu. Now, this book was recommended on Canada Reads. It was one of the contenders for every year. They have like a contest on TV and they vote for different books, etc. So yeah, this one was really interesting. We're following Gloria, who is a grandmother. She is in search of her 2 young granddaughters who went missing when their mother, a drug addict, died. And this takes place in a futuristic version of Detroit on the Great Lakes area. And yeah, this place is like a burned out town, a small town, I guess you could say, called Fort Detroit. And all the children have left the town. They're all living on the outskirts in a park called Park Rouge. And so Gloria, this grandmother, figures that her young granddaughters probably took off and are living with the other wild kids in the forest who are fending for themselves and actually doing quite well. So in this futuristic world, there's a little bit of magical realism, like the buildings can rejuvenate themselves, and some people have great success with gardening and crops and stuff. There's little areas where stuff will still grow. So there's a guy in the town who's the gardener and he grows stuff. But overall, this book was so bleak and so dark and so intense. This author throws a lot of information at you, mixed in with a lot of metaphor. It's very metaphorical and kind of surrealistic. So yeah, as interesting as it was, I found at about the 100-page mark, I needed a break from this book. I thought I was going to DNF it. I put it down. I read another book, and then I found myself thinking about these characters, so I had to come back to it. So I finished it, and yeah, it was interesting, but it was just, and this doesn't happen very often for me. I can read really dark books and enjoy them, but this one was heavy in a different way. It was oppressive and kind of claustrophobic feeling, if that makes any sense. And I'm sure that's what the author was intending to do with this kind of a story. I just needed more levity. I just needed something more positive to happen. And, I found myself ecstatic when one of the characters actually, ate a raspberry. Like that was a really happy event kind of thing in the landscape of this place. So yeah, I can see why some people would love it, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I'm glad I finished it. But yeah, I don't know who I would recommend this to. If you're interested, check it out. But yeah, definitely not a book for everyone. The book I read after I had to set that one down just to get a break because I was feeling heavy and oppressive and just, yeah, kind of yucky. I needed some levity. I needed a good laugh. So I picked up How to Age Disgracefully by Claire Pooley. This book was amazing. I've read one of her previous books, The Authenticity Project, which was also great. This is like a contemporary, kind of a comedy book. It's a little bit romantic, but it doesn't lean too far into the romance, which is what I like about it. And yeah, it's just a sweet, heartwarming story. This one involves a bunch of senior citizens. We're following Ruby, who is a character and a half. I wouldn't want to mess with her, that's for sure. There's Ruby, there's Art and his friend Will, these 2 men that are buddies, and they all commune at this neighborhood community center. There's also a teenage dad who goes there because he has to bring his baby daughter there for daycare while he goes to school to try and improve his circumstances and get to university and stuff and improve his grades. So I thought that was interesting too. You don't often read about a teenage father. Normally you read about a teenage mother, but so that was a different twist. And so this group of people come together and their main goal is to save their community center from being torn down. What follows is a hilarious escapade. The dialogue is so funny. Like I said, Ruby is a character. The other people in here, Art is a kleptomaniac. He's quite the character. So yeah, this is the perfect anecdote for how I was feeling after the last book. It just gave me a good laugh. It was a really quick read. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I gave it 4 stars. The next one I read after that was the only DNF in my whole bunch, and it was Headshot by Rita Bullwinkle. In this one, we're following groups of female, like young girl boxers who are amateur boxing, and they're getting ready for this big national competition in Reno, Nevada. But each chapter or each section of the book is devoted to 2 who are fighting each other. And I didn't know how I'd like it because I'm not really that interested in the sport of boxing, but I gave it a go. And about 100 pages in, I still wasn't really invested. It moves from the first 2 girls to the next 2, and she didn't give me enough to feel attached to these characters. I was pretty indifferent to them. So I thought, I don't even actually care what happens to them. And it's such a shame because I love the cover of this book and I wanted to like it. And it's a little wee book, but I just, yeah, for me, there are too many books in this world that I want to get to in my lifetime. And I just don't have time to devote to reading something I'm not enjoying. So DNF, moving on. The next one I picked up was a memoir by Maggie Farrell. She's a writer. I think she's got Maggie O'Farrell, Irish. And this is a book about various close calls that she's had in her life with death. 17 different times that she's had what she calls a brush with death. I enjoyed the first few. The first story, it's a bunch of short stories, like episodes in her life. And the first one was really compelling. She was working at this resort in Scotland, like a resort town. And she went on a hike one day and a really suspicious guy followed her. And she had a bad feeling about this guy. And her intuition proved to be right, even though she didn't listen to her intuition at the time. So that was a really interesting story. But then There were a few that I can see why she would consider them brushes with death, but I didn't find that they were. I didn't think she was in mortal peril, so the title of this book is a little bit misleading. It's great. It's pretty good. As a reader, I think this means a lot more to her and her family than it would to the general public kind of thing. So I applaud her for writing this. Like, that took a lot of courage to share her stories. I mean, they are harrowing and scary. There's no doubt about that. But I just found that they weren't that interesting to read for an entire book. I would have been okay with reading 3 or 4 of these, but like by the 10th one, I'm like, okay, that I'm not sure that this would actually qualify as a close call, but in her mind it was, so it was legit. But yeah, it didn't do it for me. And this kind of begs the question, are you better off to keep reading or DNF? I did keep reading this, but I gave it a 2-star rating. So yeah, I didn't want to DNF another book after the last one, so I read it. It was okay. I think I'll stick with her fiction in the future. The next one I read was really good. This, and I know my friend Dee over at the Reading Room is a big fan. This is Perfect Son by Frida McFadden. This one, you know, totally scratched the thriller itch for me. Like, I got the suspicious, demented young person and the crime mystery and the domestic thriller. We're following this kid named Liam and his family. He's accused of murdering a young girl in his high school. And we follow what happens as a result of the investigation. And, you know, we meet his family and the other suspicious people. There's about 3 or 4 of them that fall under suspicion in this murder case. So it's not just him. Even though this was pretty predictable and a lot of cliches, pretty cliche heavy, I still enjoyed it. It was still a fun read. Even though I knew what was coming, I did enjoy it, and I would read more from her in the future. So yeah, I gave this one a 3-star. It was really good. I can't say it was like blow my mind fantastic, but I did like it a lot. So yeah, Perfect Son by Frida McFadden. And I will for sure read more from her. Next one, speaking of thrillers, was one I randomly picked up called Buried Road by Katie Tallow. This book is really interesting. We're following a mother and daughter who in Prince Edward Island, I believe, or New Brunswick. Anyway, it takes place in the summer. It's another missing person mystery. The husband of the mother's name is Gus, short for Augusta, and the daughter's name is Bly. Bly is 12, I believe. Anyway, her stepdad, Howard, they were on the beach one day and he just took off and he didn't come back. So he's been missing for 3 years now. They returned to this town and because his parents are having a funeral for him, even though they've never found his body. Gus and Bly want to get to the bottom of this. They start investigating when his camper is found and the young girl Bly finds his phone, and there is a couple serious clues in there. So they start their own little investigation. Things escalate very quickly. In a way, this tries to be kind of too many thriller elements to please every thriller fan. Like, we've got the small town, we've got the teenage girl sleuth, we've got the mother and daughter working together to solve the crime. We've got the corrupt cops in the town. We've got this funeral and this family dysfunction happening. And then a natural disaster hits at the funeral. There's a tornado and the roof gets blown off. That's not a spoiler. That happens very soon in the book. So we've got that. And then it's like all these different thriller elements are inserted at random times, but yet I kept on reading it. I couldn't put it down. So yeah, in a way it was completely ridiculous, but yet it was still really enjoyable. I don't even know how else to put it. I actually gave it a 4-star rating, which surprised me. I guess because I was surprised that I actually liked this one. And I was expecting a really cheesy ending, and it wasn't that bad. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd read from her again, but this one was pretty darn good. So now I went to my library and I did a video on this library haul where I picked books that other booktubers had recommended. And the first one I read was a book by an author that's super popular. I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I picked this up because I had previously read Book Lovers, did not like it, didn't like it at all. I think I gave it 1 or 2 stars, but I thought, well, she's a really popular writer and I want to check out something else. I think I just have to be in the right mood for her kind of romantic comedy style writing, and this book hit the spot. I really enjoyed this. We're following 2 people that have been jilted, Daphne and what's the guy's name again? Sorry. Miles. Daphne and Miles. Daphne's husband-to-be on his bachelor party hooks up with Miles's girlfriend, who they've known each other since childhood. But the night of the bachelor party, everything goes haywire. Daphne and Miles find themselves without a place to live, so they move in together as a result of the breakup of their respective relationships. And as predictable as everything in here is, it's rife with romantic cliches. There's no surprises, but it's still a really enjoyable ride. It's sweet, it's funny, it's like candy, you know, it's like junk food for your soul. It's a great escape. It's very contemporary, and I can see why people love Emily Henry. This book is a fantastic, just a fun escape, and I'm really happy I gave her a second shot. I really like this one. I gave it a solid 3 stars, and I'd probably read from her again, actually. This one was a lot of fun, and lots of funny moments in here too. So yeah, everything you'd want in a romantic comedy and then some. Next one I read from the library was Brat by Gabriel Smith, another recommendation from Isabel at Isabel Reads. Thanks, Isabel. I was kind of floored by this book. I made an entire video review of it if you're interested in seeing that. I go on and on in detail about this book. It's a strange one. It's kind of surreal. We're following Gabriel, who has lost his father. His mother is in a long-term memory care facility, and him and his brother don't get along particularly well. Gabriel is tasked by his family to go take care of the family home and get it ready for sale, because they're going to have this real estate guy come and give them a valuation for the property. While he's staying in the family home, he's using a lot of drugs, he's drinking, and his skin starts peeling off in big strips. But oddly, his skin is water soluble. He throws in the bathtub and it dissolves and goes down the drain. So as you can imagine, this is a very strange book. I'm not going to say too much more. Riveting. I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. And it's easy to read in one sitting because there's not a lot of text on the pages. Like, it's pretty sparse. So yeah, if you just want something to grab your attention from beginning to end, and you'll be wondering, like, what the heck did I just read? This is a great book to pick up if you're in that kind of a mood. So yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend this widely, but it definitely hit all the right spots for me. I really liked it. So yeah, I think I gave this 4 or 5 stars. 4, solid 4, 4.5, something like that. Next up, I read Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. This was recommended by Frankie from Frankie's Shelf on her channel. And in this one, we're following a family. The father is obsessed with the Bronze Age and how people used to live back in the day in the English Northern England. Like, he decides to take his family to go stay at this camp where these anthropology students are doing reenactments and camping and living off the land and, you know, exploring how life was way, way, way back in history. However, this father gets carried away, particularly pertaining to his daughter. The daughter, her name is Sylvie. She is not happy at all with being there. She's not having fun. She forms friendships with a couple of the other kids that are there, the anthropology students, and starts to confide in them things about her dad. All is not as it seems, and the further you read in this book, it's a teeny tiny little book. Another one sitting or two sitting read, but yeah, things take a very dark, nefarious turn, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to say what happens, but it's kind of a bit of a feminist, dark feminism is a theme, and there's a little bit of abuse, not graphic, but there is some, and it's a tense, kind of a slow burn suspense thriller, I would say, based on ancient history. So there's some folklore elements in there too. Very interesting. I'm really glad I read this one. I think I gave it a 3. I found it a little slow in parts, but it was good. It was a really solid read. So yeah. After that, I read The Passengers by John Mars, which was recommended by Suey from Suey's Book Banter on her channel, on a short video that she did. I absolutely love this book. It's a very futuristic thriller. We are following people in England where a law has been passed that self-driving cars are going to take over. There's not going to be any more manual, cars. It's all going to be driverless cars. It's a government mandate that's, they've got 10 years to switch everything over. But in the meantime, we're following these 8 different people who get in their car and they're locked in. They can't get out. The windshields and the windows go opaque. They can't even see out. And this voice comes on the system and says, we're going to arrive at your destination in 2.5 hours and you'll likely be dead by the time we get there. What a wild premise. This is a wild ride. It's a futuristic thriller with, it goes at a breakneck pace and you won't be able to put this down. I loved it. I loved this. This is like such a fantastic book. I didn't love the ending. I liked it a lot, but it was a little bit, I'm not going to say anything. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was great. Fantastic pacing, and really like this book a lot. If you're looking for a fast-paced thriller that's got a futuristic element to it, it's fantastic. So yeah. Next up, I read something completely different. Another memoir from an author that I absolutely love, and that is Richard Wagamese. I did a video on one of his books. That's one of my favorite books of all time. It's on my channel. But he's a Canadian author who passed away in 2017. And this is a memoir, something that he wrote for his estranged son, Joshua. It's called For Joshua, an Ojibwe father teaches his son. So this is full of, Richard's life, particularly his struggles with alcohol. He was homeless for a time, living in different places across Canada. And it shows how he would, kind of reclaim his culture and try and reclaim everything that was taken away from him at a young age. He lived in the foster care system. He led a really tragic young life. And this is his reflection on that, how he overcame his circumstances and became a writer, how he rose up and, fulfilled that ambition. And it's really a love letter to his son, who, even at the time this book came out, he still hadn't spoken to him. Due to Richard's alcohol use, his mother wouldn't let them have contact. So I don't know if they ever reconciled before he passed. It would be really sad to think that they didn't. But what a gift this book is. Fantastic read. He just had such a way with words. This book is kind of heartbreaking, so it's one you really have to be in the mood to read, but it's fantastic. I learned a lot about Ojibwe culture and heritage and their way of life as well, so really interesting. Really glad I read this one. And lastly, but not least, I read Amsterdam by Ian McEwan. This was the subject of my very first reading blog that I put out, and I had this book on my shelf. I picked it up at the thrift store. It was only $3.99. I was a fan of Ian McEwan, so I thought, wow, this is a great cover. And I had no idea what this was about. Now I do know what it was about. In this book, we're following 3 men, mainly, who meet up at the funeral of a woman that they all had a romantic relationship with at some point. And these men all know each other. The opening scene of this book takes place at her memorial. Her name is Molly. And this is set in the 90s. So a lot has changed since then, but it's held up, stood the test of time. It's a great story. It's a story about friendship between these men. It's a story about greed, about lust, about not so much power. There's a little bit of politics in here. There's some blackmail. And at the end of the day, it's a real great reflection on how, as well as you can know a person, do you ever really know them? That's the big overarching question in here. I don't want to say too much because I might get into spoiler territory, but the way he writes, and I've said this before, I went into it at length on my reading blog, but like he is great at, really honing in on people's personalities and their individual traits and writing their inner monologue, like their inner voice. So yeah, it's fantastic. All of his books are relatively short. They're 200 pages or under. I think the newest one might be longer than that, but like most of them are very short. I read this in a day and it was just a fantastic experience. One of the only 5-star reads I've had all year. It won the Booker Prize in 1988. Not that that means everything, but it's a time where I absolutely agree that this was a phenomenal book and probably, I'm sure, deserved all the accolades it got back in 1998. So yeah, highly recommend. If you're looking for something different, that's a very fast and very engrossing book, I would recommend Amsterdam by Ian McEwan. So there you have it. That's all the books I read in March. I had a really kind of diverse month of different things. I had some nonfiction, I had some thrillers, I had some literary fiction, and yeah, it went pretty well. Hopefully April will be just as good, and I can't wait to see what you're all reading for springtime here. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.